So if you're anything like me, when Holmes Hobbies first came out with their Torquemaster Mini line of motors for the TRX4M, you jumped on it right away. Holmes Hobbies has been making motors for a long time. They produce a great product. They know exactly what they're doing. But I know what you're thinking. Injora's come out with a new hotness. It's purple. It uses Pro in the title. It's 48 turns. Is it better? Stick around, we're going to find out. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't guessed already, we're going to be doing some comparisons between the Holmes Hobbies Torquemaster Mini 66 turn and the newer Injora Pro 48 turn. First up, let's talk a little bit about the motors themselves. The features of both motors are very comparable. The Holmes Hobbies motors come with a brass pinion pre-installed. They also come with a connector that is compatible with the stock ESC. The Injora Pro 48 comes with a steel pinion pre-installed. The connector is molded exactly like the stock Traxxas connector. It plugs into the factory ESC in only one direction, so that's a pretty cool feature. Another thing that I found interesting in the description for this Pro 48 turn motor on Injora's website is they specifically recommend the use of underdrive gearing. We've got low range or crawl gears installed in both of these transmissions, and that's how we're going to do our initial comparisons. But if you stick around to the end of the video, we're going to drop in the new 16% underdrive helical diff gears in the rear axle and see how that affects the slow crawl and overall performance when running these motors. If you're a subscriber to the channel, you've probably seen one of my previous motor tests. You know the drill. We test the unloaded wheel RPM on the bench. We then take that information and calculate a mile per hour figure. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss out on any future content. So as you can see from the RPM test, the Injora Pro is picking up a little bit of extra wheel speed there. It's not drastic, it's about 0.4 mile per hour increase, but that's only part of the story. That's just on the bench. Let's get them out on the trails and see how they stack up. So when I hit the rocks for the first time with the Injora Pro 48 turn, the first thing I notice is just how smooth and controllable the low end is. This thing's got plenty of low down torque, it's very controllable, and I wasn't expecting that being a 48 turn that's got a good amount of top end punch. I was expecting it to lose out a little bit in the slow speed department, but this thing is very, very controllable, and I was a little bit surprised by that. As you can see, no problems hitting those slower speeds to get through the trickier stuff. For the most part, it does feel very similar to the Holmes Hobbies 66 turn, but in my opinion it's got a little bit of an edge in the slow speed department. And as you can see at the top of this climb, no issues. When you need a bit of extra punch, a bit of extra wheel speed, this thing's got plenty of it. This descent here felt very smooth and very controlled with the Injora Pro, and I was surprised that it seems to have an edge in this situation where you're descending. It feels to me like it wants to run away a little bit less and is more controlled. This little climb here shows off the wheel speed of the Injora Pro, and it's got plenty of it to make it to the top of this climb. can see through this section, very smooth and controllable. All in all, very surprised, very happy with this first run. So I've got a lot more run time on the Holmes Hobbies 66 turn than I do with the Injora Pro 48. I'm very familiar with the performance of the Holmes Hobbies 66 turn, and I would never describe the slow speed control as bad. This motor has a lot of low down torque. It's really nicely controllable, and the top end punch is excellent with this motor. During a lot of driving circumstances, you'd be hard pressed to tell a difference between the two motors. There are some differences, and they are very noticeable, and I feel like under some circumstances the Injora Pro 48 does edge out the Holmes Hobbies. But as you can see through this section, there's absolutely no issue with the slow speed control. You can get a really nice crawl happening with this 66 turn motor. And it feels really crisp and punchy when you need to bounce your way up something. For me, one of my biggest complaints with the Holmes Hobbies has always been how it's felt whilst descending a steep hill like this one that's a little bit technical. It's always felt to me like it wants to run away just a little bit, even though you're feeding in very subtle throttle inputs. It just wants to sort of take off and go down the hill faster than I need it to. So that's been one thing. The Injora Pro 48 doesn't completely erase that feeling by any means, but it does improve on it in my opinion. As you can see on this little climb here, the Holmes has got plenty of punch when you need it to get to the top of big climbs like this. We didn't have too much trouble getting up there at all. Great little motor for the TRX4M, definitely one of the best out there. After running both of these motors back to back on the trail, the driving experience between the two is very similar. They both have really good low speed control, they both have great punch and great wheel speed. I feel the Injora Pro 48 slightly edges out the Holmes Hobbies 66 turn, particularly when descending down a hill. The Injora Pro 48 feels as though it's got just a hair better slow speed control. The Holmes Hobbies 66 turn sometimes feels like it wants to run away a little bit downhill. There's not a ton in it, but it is noticeable. As promised earlier in the video, we're going to switch out the rear axle gearing to Injora's 16% underdrive ring and pinion gears. So we're going to throw those in and we're going to see how that affects the driving experience with both of these motors. So pretty easy install on those rear underdrive gears. I did notice that they're not quite as smooth as the stock plastic gears. They're a tiny little bit notchy. I greased them up really well. I dare say that they'll probably bed in and become a little bit smoother as they run. It's not a huge deal, but I just noticed that you can feel a little bit of notchiness. But as you can see, we've got some masking tape on those wheels there. One revolution on the front and not quite a full revolution, so you can see that the front axle is spinning slightly faster. With the underdrive gears installed, let's get back out on the trails and do those same tests again. The Holmes Hobbies 66 turn gets the first run with the underdrive, and immediately I notice an improvement in slow speed control with that 16% underdrive in the rear axle, reducing the load on the drivetrain overall. It seems to really improve the slow speed control. As you can see through that section there, I'm able to just ease the truck through in a really controlled fashion. Also, the improvements in steering response and that front axle really helping to guide the truck and pull the truck through the more technical sections is also immediately noticeable. I'm really enjoying the underdrive so far. I haven't got a lot of runtime on it, and I look forward to spending a bit more time on the rocks with it. This little climb here, I could really feel that front axle putting some work in, helping to guide the truck, and I felt there was a definite improvement in climbing ability. This descent here, I didn't notice any difference really with the underdrive. I don't think that's going to help much with descending. Felt about the same. This little climb here, as you'll see, I wasn't able to make it up with the 66 turn. After installing the underdrive, I lost enough wheel speed on the rear axle that I wasn't able to make this climb. First time out on the rocks with the Injora Pro 48 turn motor and the 16% underdrive setup in the rear axle, and I'm really enjoying the slow speed control. I did mess up that line there, which sets me up really badly for the next section. That's just something that seems to happen as soon as I hit record on that camera. I start missing lines all over the place. Part of it is because my attention is split between driving and framing the shot. As you can see there, that little pop to reposition the truck, there's plenty of wheel speed out of this setup when you need it. Epic turning radius on the TRX4M, if you've got one. That's one of the aspects that's really nice about this truck, and the underdrive in the rear axle just really helps to capitalize on that aspect of the truck as well. This little climb here, I really could notice again the front axle just really helping to guide the truck and pull the truck up. It feels a lot more responsive with the underdrive installed. Technical descending, again, not really affected. I do feel like I've got a really nice amount of control with this 48 turn motor installed. This little climb here, after installing the underdrive and reducing the rear wheel speed, I did struggle to get the truck up running the Injora Pro, but as you'll see in just a second, this setup has just enough top end punch in reserve that we're able to make it up there. So if you're considering installing the underdrive, this motor might be something to consider, because that that extra top end punch really seems to help it out. Really nice and controlled, and I'm really enjoying this setup so far. After installing the underdrive gearing in the rear axle, it really improves the low speed feel and low speed control on both motors. The steering response is vastly improved, and the technical climbing ability is noticeably improved. So that's a great option. While running the Holmes Hobbies 66 turn with the underdrive, I lost enough wheel speed that I wasn't able to make it up that large climb on that flat slab of a rock. There's not a lot for the tyres to bite into, and you really need to get a bit of wheel speed. With the underdrive installed, I wasn't able to do it with the 66 turn. However, with the Injora Pro 48 installed, it still struggled on that obstacle, but it had just enough extra wheel speed in reserve to be able to do it. So that's something to consider. If you already own the Holmes Hobbies 66 turn, it's a fantastic motor, and I probably wouldn't be running out to replace it. Both options are a great choice. The Injora Pro 48, in my opinion, is a particularly good choice if you intend to run the underdrive gearing on the rear axle. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you got any value out of today's video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time.